All right, today we're going deep. We're doing a full technical dive into the Strait of Hormuz. We're going to break down the military hardware, the attack strategies, and the incredible high-tech defenses that really define the whole situation in the world's most critical maritime choke point.
And really, it all boils down to this one question. Because when you talk about the Strait of Hormuz, you're not just talking about a body of water. You're talking about the absolute jugular vein of the global energy market. So if you can control this passage, you hold incredible leverage over the entire world economy. The stakes, they just don't get any higher.
So here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll look at the chessboard itself, the geography that shapes everything. Then, we'll get into the offensive playbook and the defender's high-tech wall. From there, it's all about the final close-in showdown before we look at the endgame, how you take this threat completely off the board.
To really get what's happening here, you have to start with the terrain. In the Strait of Hormuz, the physical environment isn't just some backdrop to the action. It dictates every single move, every single strategy. Geography is absolutely destiny here.
And the most critical number in this whole equation is 21 nautical miles. That's the width of the strait at its narrowest point. This creates this massive bottleneck, basically funneling huge, lumbering ships into a very predictable and, because of that, a very vulnerable path.
But it gets worse, because those 21 miles, they're not all open water, not even close. All that traffic is squeezed into 2 lanes, each only 2 miles wide, with a buffer zone in between. The rest is all shallow water and reefs. For a giant oil tanker, that means there is virtually zero room to dodge or weave. And to top it all off, the coastline is mountainous, which provides perfect natural camouflage for anyone wanting to set up missile batteries. It is, for all intents and purposes, the perfect ambush zone.
So with a geography like that, the offensive strategy is really built around one single concept: saturation. The goal isn't to be clever or sneaky. It's to overwhelm an advanced warship's defenses with so many threats coming from so many different directions that its systems just overload.
And the arsenal they use is this wild mix of old and new. And that's by design. It creates a really complex problem for defenders. You've got these old Soviet workhorses like the P-15 Termit, which is subsonic. But then, and this is crucial, you've got re-engineered SA-2 surface-to-air missiles. These things have been turned into supersonic ship killers that are closing in at Mach 3.5. Then you add modern coastal defense missiles that use infrared homing to skim right above the waves, making them incredibly hard for any radar system to pick up.
The whole attack is like a carefully timed, deadly dance. First up, a swarm of drones is launched. Their only job is to confuse and clutter the warship's radar screens. Next, the slow subsonic missiles are fired. This forces the ship to start shooting its defensive interceptors, to start using up ammo. And then, finally, once the defenses are busy and distracted, that's when you launch the supersonic missiles. They come screaming in at a target that's already looking the other way.
And as if all that wasn't enough to deal with, you have this happening at the exact same time. Swarms of 10, maybe 20 small, high-speed boats coming at you from every direction. They're using everything: heavy machine guns, rockets, and they're aiming for very specific places: the bridge, to blind the ship, and the engine room, to stop it dead in the water. Some of these boats are even unmanned, just packed with explosives, basically becoming remote-controlled torpedoes designed to blow a massive hole in the hull.
So, how on earth do you defend against that? I mean, a complex threat coming from the air and the sea all at once. Well, modern warships create what's known as a defensive bubble. And it's not just one system, it's a series of interconnected, overlapping layers of defense.
You can think of this bubble as having distinct rings. The outer ring is run by systems like Aegis, which can see a missile launch from hundreds of miles away and take it out with long-range interceptors. The mid-ring, that's patrolled by Seahawk helicopters. Their job is to hunt down those fast attack boats. And then if a threat somehow makes it through all of that, it has to face the inner ring, the ship's close-in weapon systems, or CIWS. This is the absolute last line of defense.
Now, that handoff from just seeing something to actually shooting it is critical. The ship's long-range search radar might be tracking a blip for miles and miles, but the real moment of truth comes at about 5 miles out. That's when the dedicated fire control radar locks on, confirms it's a threat, and gets ready to fire. It's the final go, no-go decision point.
All right, now we are in the final moments of the fight. A threat, whether it's a missile or a drone, has punched through all the outer defenses. Everything now comes down to the ship's last-ditch defense systems, all happening inside that final 6-mile bubble.
And right here you see the 2 main options. On one side, you've got the Phalanx. It's basically a radar-guided Gatling gun. Its whole strategy is to just throw up a wall of lead. We're talking 4,500 rounds a minute, but its effective range is only about 2 miles. On the other side, you have the CRAM. Instead of bullets, it fires a salvo of 11 precision missiles, and this pushes its effective range all the way out to 6 miles. That's 3 times the engagement distance of the Phalanx.
So what's CRAM's secret sauce? It's all about its infrared homing guidance. See, instead of relying on radar, which can get tricked by missiles flying super low over the water, it just locks onto the heat signature from the incoming missile's engine. This makes it absolutely devastating against the exact kind of threats that are designed to fool traditional radar defenses.
But here's the thing. At the end of the day, you can't just play defense forever. That's a losing game. The real strategic solution isn't just about knocking down attacks as they come in. It's about taking away the enemy's ability to launch those attacks in the first place. It's about flipping the switch from defense to offense.
And this is the root of the problem. We're not just talking about some missile launchers on trucks that you can find and destroy. We are talking about a massive network of launchers hidden deep inside mountain bunkers, fortified with feet and feet of reinforced concrete. They're designed to be almost impossible to destroy with normal weapons.
So how do you solve a problem like that? Well, you use a weapon that was built specifically for this job. This is the GBU-72, better known as a bunker buster. It's a massive 5,000-pound precision-guided bomb that has one single purpose: get deep inside a hardened target before it goes boom.
And what it can do is just staggering. This 5,000-pound weapon can smash its way through 20 feet of solid, steel-reinforced concrete or 160 feet of just earth, and then it detonates. The goal isn't just to poke a hole in the bunker. It's to trigger a massive explosion inside, causing the entire underground facility to collapse in on itself. It neutralizes the threat for good.
And all of this brings us back to our final question. We've seen how geography can create a natural fortress, and we've seen how technology can create these unbelievably devastating weapons and these incredible defensive shields. So, in a place like the Strait of Hormuz, which one really has the final say? It's this constant strategic tug of war, and it's one that's going to continue to define this critical part of the world.